Let me call immediately to the podium, Member of Parliament for Tunapuna, Mr. Esmond Ford, to bring some brief remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson, Darian Marcel. Again, special welcome to DCB, MacDonald Jacob and his senior team to Tunapuna. As the Member of Parliament, we appreciate your presence with your senior executives of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Again, in the interest of time, we would not go into all the necessary protocols, but I must acknowledge Councillor Travis Williams as the main person spearheading this session that is taking place here between which is a triumvirate, the Greater Tunapuna Chamber of Commerce, the Tunapuna Police Station Council Executive, and the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation. Again, we are talking about crime, and I was saying, what remark can I bring to you all at this auspicious occasion this afternoon? Since assuming the office of Member of Parliament, and even prior to that as the councillor for the area, we regularly used to have police sessions, ACP MacDonald Jacob, as you would well know, in the Tunapuna community. All right, but we cannot blame COVID for everything. But within the last 2 years, basically, we were running basically in a dormant situation with regards to the active group. I must say, we do have a very active Tunapuna Police Station Community Council and executive headed by President Neil Budu Singh. I think they deserve a round of applause because that group, they do a host of series of programs within the Tunapuna area. Meetings with the public, meeting with the residents, meeting with the businessmen, street walks. Yes, ACP MacDonald, they do street walks, clearly identify within the community in order to share the whole aspect of ensuring that crime be at a minimal in the Tunapuna constituency. In Tunapuna, we also have an active engagement on a one-on-one basis among the youths within the area of Tunapuna. Again, as the Member of Parliament, again, growing up in Tunapuna, a lot of the youths are known by your Member of Parliament, and we engage in a one-on-one situation in order to see how best we can assist. Yes, we can talk about employment. Yes, we can talk about schooling. Yes, we can talk about what is there for the youth. But we continue to try, but at the end of the day, as the saying goes, we can take the horse to the fountain, but the person still has to drink. Right? We also have the churches within the Tunapuna community that plays their part. Active church groups, various communities that they would facilitate. We have an active team, which is the Tunapuna Evangelical Association of Ministers, headed by Reverend Pastor Desmond Austin, keeping crusades, visitations, street-to-street meetings, and one-on-one discussion. And again, we continue to do our part in Tunapuna. But again, for those who are not on the Facebook, for those who are not online with us virtually tonight, ACP Jacob, we need to find the way of how we are going to get to those individuals, Mr. Carmichael. The ones who are not listening to this session here tonight. When tomorrow comes, are we going to the street? Are we going on the blocks? Are we going on the sidewalks? Those are the things, are some of the things that, because we may be speaking to the persons who are not involved in crime here tonight. Who knows? We may be speaking, yes, we know of white-collar crime, but I think the white-collar crime is not the issue tonight. The crime we are talking about is the street crime that is taking place, the break-ins, the murders. Yes, in Tunapuna, we have an active police patrol, ACP Jacob. Very active. You see them nightly patrolling Tunapuna, but like everything else, they cannot patrol every street in Tunapuna at the same time. Councillor Corey spoke about Tunapuna being the biggest and largest town within the area. So they're on Fairley Street now. Then they go to El Dorado Road, they go to Orsonville Road, they come up to Cora. When they come up to Cora, something is happening down on Balthazar Street. Something is happening up on the zone. Something is happening on Orsonville Park. Right? We have foot patrols, we have car patrols, and who have seen the horseback patrols lately? Horseback. Any of you all saw the horseback patrols this week? Nah, man. None of you all in Tunapuna saw the horseback patrol that started in Tunapuna this week? Well, yeah, all right, yeah, so let's acknowledge it. Right? So again, the police are doing their part. But the question we have to answer tonight, Mr. Marcel, is what we as residents, what we as the public, what we as businessmen, what we as youth are doing to ensure that crime become minimal in Tunapuna. Again, I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity. You all are not here to hear me. We are here to hear the officers in order to ensure that we get it right as we continue along. So again, do have a blessed night. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ford. Let me just recognize our DJs and our team doing the stream, the live stream, and they're doing a good job. Let me just say to those listening at home, we have a capacity, so 500 persons. So invite your neighbor, invite your friend, invite as many people as you can to join this stream so that the information could be of value generally to your community. Let me now invite very quickly to the lectern the vice chairman of the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation and the coordinator for this afternoon's event, Councillor Travis Williams.
Terror on the Tunapuna Hills as rival gangs clash. Newsday, Sunday, 21st November 2021. Violent clashes among warring criminals, gangs in the hills of Tunapuna have sparked a new wave of fear among residents who have a self-imposed curfew, even through the state of emergency for the country. While some residents live closer to conflict zones, some have opted to abandon their homes, others have remained helpless and afraid as gunmen fire at each other while high-powered weapons, leaving them as sitting ducks behind closed doors. In July, 5 persons killed from one community. In October, a 68-year-old and a 19-year-old were gunned down in a drive-by shooting on Stratham Lodge, Tunapuna. 4 other men were wounded in the shooting and 51 rounds of ammunition found. Earlier in November, a 56-year-old businessman was shot dead in a car in Paje Main Road, Tunapuna. Within a matter of seconds, gunmen fired 147 shots before disappearing into the night. This incident was the latest in a series of attacks in Tunapuna. This is how the Newsday described what is taking place in Tunapuna. In The Guardian on Thursday, the 2nd of December, Inspector Ishmael Pitt, I believe, is here with us, right? Ongoing warfare, and I quote, in Tunapuna is responsible for a recent upsurge in murders. We have identified them as the Rasta City gang, and one of the gangs is not necessarily a known gang. We label them in relation to geographic space, so we call them the Upper Tunapuna gang, but that gang is fueled by members of other gangs. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the salutations before me, so I want to recognize DCP MacDonald Jacob. So we want to thank you for taking time from your busy schedule to be here with us this evening. All the members of the Northern Division, we have our Municipal Police ASP Sanka, who is with us. We have, of course, Senior Superintendent Region North, Mr. Mohammed, the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Ford, Councillor Selvon. I recognize Councillor Austin is with us, and of course my esteemed Chairman of the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation, Alderman Kwesi Robinson. Good evening. We are here this evening because as a community, we are genuinely concerned. We are here because we want to live in peace, free from fear of the criminal element. I remember a time growing up in Tunapuna where we could have walked the streets at any hour, left our doors unlocked, even walk comfortably in the bamboo on Fairley Street Hills and other parts of Tunapuna. This intervention tonight should reinforce to all and sundry that this dream has not escaped us. We want a better Tunapuna where our mothers, sisters, children, and visitors feel safe. Deputy Commissioner, I am elated that you responded to this call. I cannot thank you, the officers of the Northern Division, and the TPRC Municipal Police Department enough for the work that you have done and continue to do in our community. It is my hope that this conversation bears fruit and serves as a meaningful engagement with community stakeholders who we chart this way forward with from today. The state of crime in our little community is now unacceptable. Just a few months ago, while gathering items for a food drive in my community, At 2 p.m. in the afternoon, broad daylight, I heard a loud bang, only to realize it was shots being fired right next to the car that I was sitting in. I found out later that evening, one person died and another was wounded. As an elected representative, I am not far removed from the realities of our situation. I mean, daily I am bombarded by calls from concerned residents who are forced to live in the middle of the crossfire that they now live in. But tonight is not about blaming any individual or group. Today we are here to find solutions and to see how the community can assist in securing our streets. We are all in this together. We know that the police cannot do it alone. There is a greater role to be played by civil society, NGOs, FBOs, community groups, and other state agencies if we are to win this war on crime. While we attempt to address the fruit of crime, we have to collectively address the root causes that lead young men and women astray. Unemployment, hopelessness, lack of guidance in the home, and we have a part to play. We all have a part to play in this equation. Churches must play a great role in the home, as the MP indicated. Ladies and gentlemen, we must ruthlessly inhibit and expunge the operations of the criminal enterprise. I do not wish to delay us anymore at this point, as this evening is about hearing from you and from hearing from our stakeholders who are logged on the Zoom platform this evening. Today signals our desire to partner with the police in a deep and more meaningful way as we restore order in the streets. Let us do this together for a better and safer Tunapuna and a safer Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Deputy Commissioner, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Let me just say that clearly this is of great concern to the community of Tunapuna, as it should be. And when you can get your member of parliament, the chairman of your corporation, councillors, the business community, and you get the chief accounting officer of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and his team, clearly this is serious business. And I must congratulate this initiative. Congratulate you on this initiative. Clearly there is significant concern about the people and burgesses of the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation. And of course, when you get business, the legislature, and the police involved, I think you have an excellent start. With that said, let me invite to the lectern from the Greater Tunapuna Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Mrs. Melissa Senhouse.
Member of Parliament of Tunapuna, the Honorable Mr. Esmond Ford, Deputy Commissioner of Police, Mr. MacDonald Jacob, Senior Superintendent Raphael, Senior Officers of the Northern Division, Chairman of the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation, Alderman Kwesi Robinson, President of the Tunapuna Police Station Community Council, Mr. Neil Budu Singh. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. On behalf of the Board of Directors of the Greater Tunapuna Chamber of Industry and Commerce, I would firstly like to thank DCP Jacob for making the time to be here, you and your team, because we know that you have a lot going on and you chose to come here this evening to share with our community. Thank you. Currently, we are living through the COVID-19 pandemic while simultaneously being plagued with crime. Historically, at Christmas and Carnival, there is an upsurge in criminal activity, and business owners are keenly aware that extra caution must be taken and additional preventative measures must be implemented. More importantly, the business and residential communities have recognized the critical role of the collaborative relationship with the protective services, in particular, the TTPS. The last 2 years were especially challenging for everyone, especially micro, small, and medium businesses. As Christmas approaches this year, most businesses are cautiously hopeful for increased revenue. Meanwhile, in the hills of Tunapuna, guns are blazing literally, and more persons are anxiously awaiting the opportunity to legally own a firearm to protect their family and themselves as times have become more perilous. We wish to applaud the TTPS for the initiative that introduced the police station community councils. This effort paved the way for an alliance between the community and the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. The success of the Tunapuna Police Station Community Council establishes a framework that could be mimicked by other such efforts. We see today's event as an extension of that initiative. The Greater Tunapuna Chamber of Industry and Commerce has recently partnered with the Tunapuna Police Station Community Council to introduce 100 high-definition surveillance cameras mounted throughout the Tunapuna Business District, capturing multiple angles, providing widespread coverage. Whilst this project is in its infancy stage and may be considered as treating the symptoms of crime, it is our hope these cameras would allow the police to provide targeted response to an emergency call. We are confident the surveillance cameras, when operationalized, would serve as a deterrent, ultimately leading to a reduction in criminal activity within the Tunapuna area. With the assistance of the footage provided, we believe that the detection rate would also increase, which would be a significant contributor to the war against crime. The Greater Tunapuna Chamber of Industry and Commerce encourages businesses to partner with the law enforcement to provide practical tools that they could use to detect, deter, and prevent criminality in real time. The Greater Tunapuna Chamber of Industry and Commerce believes this form of holistic community approach could form one of the supporting pillars to create a safer Tunapuna, and we look forward to strengthening our cooperation now and continuing forward. I take this opportunity to again thank you, DCP Jacob, and your team for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Senhouse. Without further ado, let me invite to the lectern from the Tunapuna Police Station Community Council, Mr. Neil Burusing.
DCP Jacob, Mr. Esmond Ford, and in the interest of time, all protocols observed. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Neil Burusing. Some of you here would know me as Fred. That's my nickname for the past 25 years in the Tunapuna area. I say good evening to you, and I am the president of the Tunapuna Police Station Community Council. On Tuesday, March the 19th, 2019, 13 individuals were elected by stakeholders of the community, people just like yourself, in a town hall meeting before COVID, when we were allowed those privileges. We formed the executive of the Tunapuna Police Station Community Council. Some of you may ask, what is the council about? The Community Council has the task of performing the role of liaison between the community, which is yourself, and the police, represented in the Tunapuna Station, members here. In our role as liaison, we are mandated to make recommendations for the consideration and/or action by police. We are also there to assist in the development of solutions to prevent illegal activity in the community. We are also there to assist the police in creation of initiatives to improve the quality of life for the people that make up the community. We are also there to ensure that the unique characteristics of the community are considered in the execution of the duties by the police. So we work on both ends. We represent the community in the station, and we represent the community. We represent the police in the community. One thing I want to say is that the Tunapuna station, within that period, they have given us the privilege of an open door policy. And I cannot recall an instance where I called to see the inspector in charge of the station, or I just walked in and I wasn't allowed to. I have that privilege to go in, meet, sit with whoever is there, whoever is in charge, and we can relay any issue. So I must say that the Tunapuna station has always kept its doors open to the council, whether COVID, whether whatever. The recent increase in crime is frightening, but it must be noted that the police cannot fight this battle alone. We must join forces. Unite as a community to reduce crime from our district. We want Tunapuna to be a place where people want to come and do business. We don't want, because you live in Tunapuna, you will do your business in Tunapuna. We want people from St. Joseph, from San Juan, from Arima, from areas that don't have the level of business activity to come to Tunapuna. We want people to be safe, where families could feel comfortable to go to a public space, to go to a park, to go to the corner, to sit down and even have a beer or whatever and feel comfortable. We could contribute to making Tunapuna a safe place again. This is why the council, we were in charge and we created 5 neighborhood watch groups within the Tunapuna area. And this happened within the COVID. We started a business watch group, which is the first of its kind in the country, with over 200 businesses registered, going on Page Main Road and on the Eastern Main Road from St. Mary's Home to Hudsonville. These watch groups provide the opportunity to alert the residents and police officers of any suspicious criminal activity taking place in real time. The Business Watch Group is being developed even further with the introduction of an SOS system inclusive of surveillance cameras. You would have heard Ms. Senhouse talk about 100 cameras coming to Tunapuna area. This is an initiative and a partnership between the Chamber. And I want to say that the partnership is so close that Ms. Senhouse, who is the president of the Chamber, is also the secretary of the Tunapuna Community Council, Station Council. So we have a handshake that is there. And I myself, as the president of the council, am also a director in the chamber. So we have that closeness and that knit to work together to get this SOS system working. We have formalized a partnership with the executive of the TTPS, whereby the TTPS has agreed to monitor the cameras that we're going to have installed. The installation and maintenance of the SOS system and camera network would be funded, and I want to repeat this, will be funded by the council and the business community at no cost to the TTPS. So, Mr. Selvon, when you spoke earlier about the business getting involved, we are doing our role as a liaison to get the business groups in Tunapuna involved to make this happen. And this is going to happen. This is a system that is working worldwide, and it's coming to Tunapuna. So we want to put the bandits on alert, and we let them know tonight what is happening in Tunapuna. These watch groups embody, these watchwords embody being your brother's or sister's keeper is in line with the mantra, if you see something, say something. And before I end this evening, I didn't have this in my speech here, but I have a request to make to the head table. We are building strong bonds with the community. We are building strong bonds with officers at the Tunapuna station. One of our problems that we are faced with is that senior officers, when we start to build that bond and build that relationship, are moved. And they are moved to different areas. I understand that junior officers may be moved around, but I think now that I am a part of something that is bringing together police and community and business, we need to see faces that will become familiar and always be familiar, and that people who see something will be comfortable to call the station and hear a familiar voice, see a familiar face, that they feel comfortable and confident that they can, when they see something, say something. Now, I know that the police would have their different reasons why they move around, but after being involved in the community council, this is one of the initiatives I would like to see where there's more permanency in senior officers that are assigned not only to the Tunapuna station, but the San Juan station, St. Joseph station. So with this, I show my gratitude on behalf of the council to all the senior officers that are here tonight, to the public, and back to you, Mr. Darian. Good night.
I think that the business community in Tunapuna deserve another round of applause today, Mr. Gray. And as Dr. Atz will agree, the economic impact on crime in any community will affect jobs, apart from safety, jobs and so on. So once the business community is taking this initiative, it has a wider domino effect on everybody. So let me congratulate the business community and the Tunapuna Police Council for their initiative. Great job. Let me bring to the lectern immediately our Deputy Commissioner of Police and Chief Accounting Officer of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, having taken time from his very busy schedule to come here, none other than Mr. McDonald Jacob.
Yeah, good afternoon. Good afternoon to all. Thank you very much, Darian. Again, to the MP of Tunapuna, Mr. Edmund Ford, Councillor Travis Williams, who hunt me down to ensure that I am here he followed me in a Rima recently when we had the opening of for the Christmas plan. The Chamber Industry and Commerce Tunapuna, Chamber Industry and Commerce, all members, the Tunapuna Police Station Community Council, to all other special guests here this afternoon, senior police officers at the head table, junior officers who are also here, the municipal police, I don't want to forget at all, residents, viewers. It's a pleasure again to be in Tunapuna and to be in Northern Division. This is a special place for me in my heart in relation to Northern Division. And the basic reason is that when I talk about Northern Division, I'm talking about the division with the highest incident of serious crimes in Trinidad and Tobago. I am also talking about the division with the highest incidence of murders in the 9 police divisions. It is unfortunate that since in 2016, Northern Division have taken over from Port of Spain Division in relation to the high incident of murders, which is over 100. The average murders for the past 5 years in Northern Division is approximately 119 per year. And when compared with the closest division, that is the Central Division, which average is around 67. So that is to tell you where the problem that exists within Northern Division. So now I will bring it down to Tunapuna. I cannot talk about Tunapuna without talking about St. Joseph. I cannot talk about Tunapuna without talking about St. Joseph and Maraca St. Joseph, which is basically one piece of land that exists. Now, the police service divide things into the division, into station districts and divisions. And when we talk about Tunapuna, we look at a station district, and then we talk about St. Joseph, we talk about a station district. And then Maraca St. Joseph, a station district. But if you really understand the ground well, as I do, you will understand that if we are having a town meeting here, and even though it is organized by personnel in Tunapuna, we must look at what is happening in St. Joseph, because it's borderline. And one of the borderline between St. Joseph and Tunapuna is in fact St. John's Road. So if I now will tell you that in the past 3 years, and you look at Tunapuna, you will say there were only, that is how we will talk, we will say there were only 60 murders. But when we talk about St. Joseph, we will say that there are only 67 murders. However, when the incident happens on St. John's Road, you as a citizen is not considering that as Tunapuna or St. Joseph. As far as you're concerned, there is a murder that have occurred in your community. So therefore, you will need to really add the murders for St. Joseph, Tunapuna, and Maraca St. Joseph to actually get that understanding and appreciation. And I'm talking to my officers here, to get an understanding and appreciation of what is really happening in the area here. You need to do that combination. The shooting and woundings have increased tremendously within the area, and we need to identify what are the true causes. What is really happening? Why we need to look at it is that if we are to come up with solutions, we must first understand and appreciate what is happening on the ground. What are the causes? And then we can really and truly do the kind of law enforcement that is required of us, And you can do the kind of policing required of you as citizens. There's a difference between the law enforcement and the policing, as I explained to them in ARIMA. Now, when looking at Tunapuna, and you're looking at the areas where most of the shootings and murders that is happening, all you are seeing, you'll see some places you see Upper Mingo Road, Second Mingo Road, Upper Fairley Street, and I continue. Why everything is upper? Yes, you have some problems in Montegrand, Lovell Street, Cemetery Street. But as you go further and further, you'll see it's upper First Trace, Cora Royal Road. Well, I will include Upper St. John's Road. And we continue. There are certain things that is happening in the hills of Tunapuna, in the hills of St. Joseph. And if you all understand the landscape well, I'm talking to my police officers now, if you understand the landscape well, if you go from Cora, you can reach in Maraca, St. Joseph. If you understand the tracks and how it is structured, you'll realize how everything comes together. So in doing the policing, we need to understand the ground well. So therefore, the problem that exists a lot in the hills. Now, what is happening in the hills? I can remember being the senior superintendent in Northern Division, and I made it my business to attend the regional corporation meeting. And there was a reason for it. The reason why I attended that meeting, because some of the problems that were existing was not pure law enforcement issues. And I could remember they were happy that I attended because I was able to explain things to them. Once you have unorganized settlements taking place, immediately you have problems. Number one, the people who enter there to live, most of the time they are not from the area. They don't have an affinity for the area. You all just go back and think about some of the murders that we had, and you'll see somebody from Moraga, somebody from here, somebody from there. Think about it carefully. And then what is fueling the whole thing is the whole aspect of drugs. Persons, when they're in difficulty from other places, when you have these disorganized developments, and they need to hide out, they go and hide out in those places, and they also settle in those places. We need to deal with those disorganized neighborhoods. For my police officers here, it becomes very difficult for them to police. Yes, we are happy for the CCTV. We have an operational center, and I will talk about that just now, how we will link. But as we go up in the hills where the trouble lies, how can we manage that? I had made a suggestion to the Minister of National Security, Mr. Fitzgerald Hines. The proposal will be on his desk tomorrow. It is very, very difficult for any commander of Northern Division to really manage Northern Division well. Northern Division have over 400,000 citizens, customers according to us, when compared with other places. And I presented to him every single thing about Northern Division. It is real difficult for any one divisional commander. So the suggestion is that Northern Division will be divided on a pilot project for a 3-month period, and we're looking at it, whereby we'll have a senior superintendent based in Arima, covering approximately around 6 stations on that side. And the senior superintendent, who is based in St. Joseph, will be covering this particular area, including Aruca, including Piarco, Maraca, St. Joseph. And that is for management purpose. It is for deployment purpose. It is to serve the citizens of this area more effectively. It is burdensome on one divisional commander. And when you do comparison with other divisions, with the workload, with the manpower, and really and truly to organize and manage things properly, without putting in proper systems in relation to the policing that we are doing to manage it properly, there will be serious challenges. That proposal will run for a 3-month period, and then we will look at it from the Ministry of National Security and decide whether or not. The only person who has the authority to divide divisions is in fact the Minister of National Security. So that is the reason why a pilot project will be run, and it will be measured and evaluated, and then at the end of the 3-month period, sometime in early April, we will look at it to decide whether or not it's worth doing it, yes or no. So resources and everything will be pumped in a particular way so that the 2 commanders will be able to manage the area. Because I'm talking to you all, and I'm not talking to you all about Arima, I'm not talking to you all about a station district that have the highest incidence of crime in Trinidad and Tobago, and also murders. I'm talking to you all about Tunapuna and St. Joseph. And if we combine both, you'll understand what we are facing with. And the same problems that exist in Arima and the area exist here, but mainly in the hills. But on the flat, we have issues too. And what was identified in 2017 by a project done by the then Inspector Powder, who is now back in this division, the first inspector crime I made in Northern Division. She was the first inspector crime as a woman. She identified every drug block in Tunapuna. I think it was 27. 27 drug blocks. And we started to hit the drug blocks systematically. And every time we hold persons on the drug block, 75% of the persons were not from Tunapuna. The data is there to show. It tells us something. So as we squeeze other areas in relation to crime fighting, persons choose to use Tunapuna, St. Joseph. Most of the fight on the ground is in relation to drug blocks, and the persons settle in the hills and they come down in the flat. And when the killers, when they have the disputes and they cannot get them in the hills, you will find that Curep will suffer and the various main areas will suffer as a result of that, and we'll get a lot of murders within the prime areas. I just want to touch the aspect of the CCTV. We are happy and we really appreciate it. In 2016, being the divisional commander here, we actually established an operational center in Maloney. Now, don't think it is far. With technology, no, because I know some of the persons at distance from here and they are seeing me clearly. We have an operational center in Maloney where we have something like 212 cameras that can be looked at by our persons in that operational center. The operational center caters for officers when they want to do name checks if they are on patrol. We have the licensing of the database to check for vehicles. We can also check for the police vehicles with the GPS in the police vehicles. We can also check the body cameras. When police officers using body cameras, we can also get the feed from the police vehicles that have cameras. So the cameras that you all are talking about, we can have a project where that feed can go into our operational center, where our operators can in fact be looking at the cameras. What will be required is an expansion, a bit expansion of the operational centers, right? With the support of the municipal, because you may need to put in some strength from the municipal in that operational center, and just some additional screens, and we can get it going easily, that we can help you all in managing the crime. No, it's not just about looking. It's not just about looking. It's about when something happens, where we can do something called journey to crime and pick up certain things, because the recent shootings that we had with the prison officer, and there's great help as we do the investigation with the CCTV cameras. So again, we are here to support you all. We have several strategies on the ground. I am not dealing with the situational thing. I am not even talking about the part that you all can play. You all know it. But on our side, we are doing what is required. We actually have zoned Northern Division. We put it in patrol zones. And the affinity that persons is talking about with the patrols, we are trying to achieve different things. So again, as I always say every time I stand by a podium, when it comes to the crime and the crime fighting, I can stand here and I can tell you all and I can talk things for the whole night. But we want questions, some persons. We want to be interactive. But what we are doing, we are looking at the problem. We have the defense force supporting us. In St. John's Road, we know that the defense force, together with police, actually have claimed the hills in Tunapuna within the past 3 weeks. They have claimed the hills. We have the support from the defense force in Komoto for that area in Arima, from the Karapo to Hokita, and we work together as things happen. So I'm sure that there are men and women out there in the hills right now, because we recognize where the problem exists and how we have to deal with it. So again, thank you very much, and we are open for questions and discussions as we go forward to deal with this crime situation in Tunapuna, where the fear of crime is significantly high when persons hear the sort of weapons that are being used and are in the hands of these gang members, who is creating a certain amount of havoc within our society. So again, thank you very much, and we're prepared for questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jacob, and thanks for that overview. Very informative, and let me just say, it is a signal to me that the police are making significant efforts with the resources that they have. If I may, the police has a role to protect and serve, so they will have community policing and whatever else on their patrols, and then if a crime is committed, they will apprehend, the court will do the rest, and then if that person or persons are found guilty, then the prisons will do the rest. But there's something that many of us don't talk about or treat with in the community, and I want to just call on the legislators and the representatives in the community. The issue of repeat offenders, that is a critical element, and it means that you need to find a way to go into those same hotspots and areas, because you go there to ask them for the votes. Election time, we know where to find them. But we having repeat offenders, and therefore we need to find a way to mitigate in those communities. And not only the persons who commit the crime, but many times their children and the family, they have animosities, they're peeved, they know a particular type of lifestyle, And we need to reach out and find mechanisms to help the police on one end, and then social interventions, and not hampers and stuff like that, but counseling and other options to give them choices to better quality of life. Just thought I'll mention that. So we go right into the community engagement. We are where we are going to have questions, and depending on who the question is posed to, they will answer. We have 2 microphones, and if we just orderly indicate by a show of hand, we will recognize you at the mics, and we'll probably entertain just about 2 people behind each mic with the safe distance, because we need to continue to observe the COVID protocols. So we will invite that. I just want to ask, in the interest of time, we don't want 2 things: repeat questions that were asked before, and the long-winded questions. Just try to be as concise as possible. I was asking if, from the feed on Facebook, if we are going to see any questions coming from there, Ms. Senhouse. In the event that anything is missed here, we have a facility where we can see people who are online, maybe would ask any questions. Right, so if you could feed me with the questions, and again, we want to avoid the repeats. Let me invite those online. We have capacity for 500, so continue to invite your friends and family members to join us. We are in an interesting time here. So the floor is now open for our live audience to ask any questions. Please show your hand. Certainly, Mr. Member of Parliament.
Check. 1, 2. Check.
You're live.
Yes. Again, I must compliment you, ACP, DCP McDonald Jacob, for your presentation. I think, it reached the lowest person, I must say, how you approached it and so on. And again, the idea of knowing the area, which is key, right? The foothills, the upper areas of Tunapuna, as you have ascertained, is the areas where we are having that problem at this time. We go through a lull, right? Which part things go nice in Tunapuna part, and then all of a sudden, something comes up. And again, as you say, the outsiders stepping in, disorganized area. Again, with regard to the legislation, there's legislation in place where anything over 300 meters from the lower plane, there's supposed to be no organized development. And a lot of those areas, when they check the elevation, most likely they're over the 300. So they still come for water, they still come for electricity and so on. And as rightly mentioned, you go to them for the votes, so there's an anticipation that you need to respond, right? But what I must say is that we need, people are making different comments. The possibility of, just like how we have the Defense Force base up at St. John Road, the possibility of a mobile patrol unit somewhere along, as you would rightly say, that upper Tunapuna area, Mingo Road, Bamboo Trace, Sesame Street, Mingo Road, that whole area going across the Achong Trace. If we can have some sort of mobile patrol, which will make it sort of easier. And as you would well know, once a vehicle from the highest point up on Second Trace, you can see every single vehicle that is coming up the particular road. Every single vehicle. So again, once they know you're coming, they organize the suit, and as you say, the network to get from Tunapuna to Maracas, to get from Tunapuna to Tacarigua, to Lopino. You can do all of that through the network that those guys would have learned through there. One of the things that as a member of parliament we would have done is that we would have met with the Defense Force in order to open back up those trails that could take you through the foothills, because those same trails would have been utilized years ago by the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force to do with campaign with the different groups that would be going through those different areas. But again, due to the crime and due to everything that's taking place, all those things became dormant. So those are some of the things that we are trying to do. And again, we appreciate the effort of what is happening. To bring the point that Fred, the president, brought, the idea of that continuity. Soon as we start to get the flavor of the inspector and the sergeant that is there, he's transferred. Now I know you all have your protocols in order to deal with, But sometimes, just how you could make a special proposal, right, going forward to the minister, if some sort of special proposal could be made for Tunapuna, because we're going through a period here which part we need to overcome it. We need to overcome it. So, if it is that we can get that, whether it's at a 1 year, at 2 years, or something, that continuity. Because soon as we start to get good with the Officer Steele move, this one coming. The noon move, and next one coming, and that's how we're going. But again, the relationship is good, and we try our best in order to ensure that everything goes well. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ford. And Mr. Jacob, if I may, probably the moving around is necessary for whatever reason, but probably there needs to be a timeline for the proper debriefing and handover that will treat with some of these problems, these challenges. Yeah? The floor is open. Sure.
Hi, good evening. Again, Corey Salvon, I'm the councillor for Maracas, Santa Margarita. Part of my electoral district obviously falls in the Maracas area, and my question tonight pertains directly to the Maracas police station. Our situation there is sort of similar to the one that Mr. Fred described, except in the last 2 years, I've spoken to 4 sergeants there, and all of them retired after a couple months. And again, as soon as they are able to make some kind of impact, they go on pre-retirement leave. I want to know what's the reason for that. Is that you send sergeants to Maracas
to resign. And one of the impacts as well is the change of approach. So there's no debriefing and handing over in terms of approach, and somebody decides to come and do it differently, and it affects the outcomes. The floor is open. Mr. Jacob, I know you remember this, when I myself was detained for a traffic ticket. No, I said, you may be aware of this. When I was detained for a traffic ticket, and I was taken in the early hours of the night into the hills, and I was like, this place exists? Up into the hills, very unfamiliar to me, and I very easily identify with the territory up there in terms of how it is and the discomfort and what you may have to treat with. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, I want to say that if that unplanned developments are to be dealt with, it means that the corporations have to be given the manpower and the tools, public health inspectors, building inspectors, and whatever else, to do interventions with the other agencies so you can manage the unplanned developments. Of course, it also impacts the environment because they go into the hills and they just build willy-nilly. So those are some of the challenges. The floor is open. Yes, sir? Just introduce yourself. And
good night. My name is Elton Anthony from the Golden View Security Council. We have 2 questions. One up for the Tunapuna station. We would like consideration for the resumption of the Comfort Community Police Initiative. I think that was a patrol-based initiative. And one for the DCP, please. So from members within the community who would have years before applied for FUL, they would like to know what is happening with the audit and where it's at this moment and what could be expected for those who had filled all the requirements. Thank you.
thank you very much, sir. Sure, sir. Sure. One second. Everybody hearing in the back? Anybody? And online? Online? Go ahead, sir.
Yes, please. I want to deal with the handover, which is crucial. The police service have a traditional handover that we do when someone is taking over the station, that we are working on to change it because it more deal with some aspects of economics in relation to the amount of cash and different things. You know, a lot of things that there is no situational report in relation to the station district and what is happening in the station district. So what we are planning to do is that our crime and problem analysis branch, together with the intelligence persons, they will be putting together a package. In that package, as times change, changes will be made. So that when you are taking over a station, you will be able to get a package with how many gangs that is existing within that station district. The different things with the drug blocks, who are in charge of the drug blocks, what are some of the activities that are occurring within that particular station district. Most of the time, why it need to be documented and be there in some instances, when a person is being transferred, and this is factual, from one station to the next, sometimes they are displeased. And when you're waiting on a verbal sort of handover from one person to the other, you tend not to get. We need to institutionalize the manner in which these changes take place, so you will be depending on the particular individuals to just pass on information verbally to the commander who is taking over them, because sometimes it may take a commander a week or two when that happens before he can get his bearings to go forward. So we are looking to change that both station-wide and divisional-wise. The other thing is in relation to rotation. The police service is looking at rotation in that way that you all are talking about, that persons can stay in a place for a particular time and get familiar with the place. But because of paucity in our succession planning processes over the years, it have been affecting us. Meaning to say that we do training in batches, Lawman, with 250 persons around the same age. Ages will do training. And then when the time comes, persons reaching 55, you have a whole group of persons leaving at the same time. So within a 2 or 3 year period, you find everybody from that batch is out. So we have those issues existing. And the reason why you will find that places like Maracas, St. Joseph, San Rafael, and some of the smaller stations with less activities, persons when they are going into retirement, they will actually make that request to go into stations where there may not be much activity, so that to make cases to be held down, to come to court and other things when they leave the job. So sometimes the divisional commander will adhere to the request. So we need to look at it, we need to change it, because as I said, it's affecting the manner in which things are happening within the community and that sort of link that you want. In relation to the comfort patrols, right? Right. I understand you. All police patrols supposed to be comfort. There should not be like a special patrols, like comfort patrols, right? However, I know at the time there were comfort patrols. I don't know if you're talking about the system that they had where it was a combination between the private security and the police. I'm not too sure what you're asking for. But what I can tell you, when I spoke earlier about zoning, the Tunapuna district will be zoned. Wait, it is zoned already, right? Right. We have zoned all the station districts and patrols will be done per zone. So therefore, when we have the emergency response ERP doing a patrol in a particular area, they will be patrolling that zone. Whether it's from the Eastern Main Road to Fairley Street to what street to and that will be their patrol area, and they will be constantly within that zone. They will get familiar with every single thing that is happening within that patrol zone. They will get familiar with the people within that zone. And that will be what will be required. So we will get a better turnover in relation to persons understanding the area and understanding the citizens in that area. Therefore, even though the station commander is changed from Tunapuna you will find that the patrol officers will be known. And it will involve, in most instances, both foot and mobile patrol. So we have created patrol zones for patrols, mobile, and patrol beats for foot patrol. The reason for that, as I told you, is that it can be monitored more effectively by our operational center. Because when the officers go out and they're supposed to be patrolling in a particular area, we can geofence the patrol area. When they are actually leaving, we will know. They have to call it into the operational center so it could be more manageable. It might sound like rocket science and we cannot do it. Yes, we can, and we will do it. So therefore, there will be calls for some special comfort patrol. The ERP and the station patrols will be the comfort patrol being provided to the citizens. That is it. Any other, I miss any other points? Oh, the FUL. All right.
So,
Now,
sorry, sir.
yeah, I just have to deal with
Go
the
ahead.
FUL for them.
Go ahead.
Because I know I even have some questions that some person had sent from the senior superior concerning FUL. So let me just clear that one time and get it off the radar so everybody will be coming and answer about FUL. In the first instance, I said I want persons. We will do the law enforcement to start with, and we want people to do the policing. Policing is situational crime prevention. We have persons from Mr. Carmichael from Crime Stoppers, and he promotes situational crime prevention, how communities can work together, things that you can do. CCTV, situational crime prevention. Persons can police and do natural surveillance of the areas. There are different things that we can do. So we don't want the community to do law enforcement for us. We want the community to do policing and join with us to police the area. So as it relates to FUL, in some instances, they behave like if FUL is the answer to our crime situation. It is not the answer. And similarly, that the police service, we will get so many guns, and we will get the best weapons, and yet we'll have bloodshed on the streets. The answer is deeper than that. It's to deal with the root causes of crime and criminality. My Jamaican colleagues contact me to find out what are some of the work that we are doing from a community police perspective, from police youth clubs to all the things to station councils. They want to find out because they decided that they could have shoot themselves out of the problem in Jamaica and now realize they cannot. We have to link with the community. We have to do work with the young people. We have to prevent them from being attracted to the gangs. We must cut down the amount of recruits that the gang members do. So I'm just simply saying that even with us, guns is not the answer in relation to that. However, persons are entitled, so if they apply for a firearm user's license, to get it once they can qualify. Yes, we have an audit going on, but even though we did not have an audit going on, you need an acting commissioner or a substantive commissioner to deal with FULs. We don't have that right now. I am head of the police department right now as a deputy commissioner. I cannot deal with firearms. So that question about dealing with firearms, until that is rectified, I want to assure you when that is rectified, even though the audit will be going on, we will put mechanisms in place to deal with outstanding applications, to deal with outstanding variations as an audit is going along together with it. We announced that there will be an audit running for a period. It will take place, but it will not cause us not to be dealing with those outstanding things that are there. There will be a slowdown, that is obvious, but we will be dealing with all the outstanding until the audit is completed. So I want to assure the citizens that we will deal with the firearm issue. However, we have to wait on the institution responsible for dealing with the appointment of an acting commissioner or a commissioner of police, and when that is completed, then we can go forward. So the question of it, we got to wait. Okay, people? It is beyond us, the police. So in spite of all the noise you're hearing in the atmosphere, and the untruth that you're getting in the atmosphere, I am telling you now what is the truth. And until such time, we will be able to deal with it. And once persons are in fact qualified and we see that it is fit and for the in relation to the firearm with the FUL, we'll be going through the process that is required. Thank you.
Thank you. And before we go, let me just recognize all those on the Zoom and on the stream. Let me recognize you. Thanks for joining. And you are joining the town meeting in Tunapuna, hosted jointly by the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation, the Greater Tunapuna Chamber of Industry and Commerce, and the Tunapuna Police Station Community Council. Is that announced? These are questions now from online. Great. Can we have sister, please? If that is the case, let's just switch mics or something, please, very quickly. Thanks very much, ma'am.
Are you all hearing me? Oh, yes. Okay, great. Right, so the questions are coming in fast and furious. So this question is, will there be more stringent measures or penalties put in place for persons who park old, wrecked vehicles on the roadways, causing traffic or unnecessary flow of traffic, or for people who abandon properties? We used to have the wardens, and they are now non-existent.
Any more at this time?
Go ahead.
You can ask 2 or 3 so that we could get answer the responses.
Can arrangements be made between business owners and police to be escorted home during the Christmas season?
Got that?
If statistics are available, what is the ratio of the police force to gang members in the Tunapuna area?
Yeah, the scientist. And while Ms. Senhouse is tabulating the next question, to those who are at home in the community of Tunapuna and environs listening, we are entertaining your questions, so you can post them, and we will do our best to have them read out. Another one, a final one?
And these are
At this
not my
time.
questions, these are the questions from online. Putting that in there. That's it. A lot of the other questions, DCP Jacob had already addressed it previously.
Yeah?
You're just asked in different ways. Yeah?
Okay. So we could probably start to answer them, yeah? Go ahead, just put it closer to you.
Thank you, Mr. House. Senior Superintendent Ramphal, Head of Northern Division, Tunapuna is under my direct command. In response to the issue of the derelict vehicles, we know that the legislation caters for that. Not only within the Tunapuna district, that is an issue. What has been done, I have asked all the station district commanders to explore that area of concern because it exists all over. We have already begun to compile a list, and working in tandem with the municipal police, we will be addressing this issue in terms of wayside garages, mechanics who carry out their trade and work on vehicles on the roadway. And a vehicle cannot be repaired in one day, comes for an engine job and stays on the street for 2 weeks until the owner gets paid to buy parts. Everybody on the same page with me, right?
Yeah.
It's a problem all over. streets that cannot accommodate two vehicles, parking issues, people who have to enter their homes, turning angles. In some instances, the corporation comes to pave a street and there's a vehicle parked there for some time and they cannot effectively carry out their work. I have already liaised with Mr. Senior Superintendent Mohammed, and he can expound further after, that by the beginning of the new year, this issue is going to be addressed. We will definitely see changes. There will be some vehicles that we have been abandoned, and we have to establish ownership. I have personal experience in other divisions that I have worked, that the police show up in front of our property. Good morning, sir, ma'am. Could you tell me something about this vehicle? Officer, me, that day, 3 months now, I see that vehicle there. And now we do find out that is you now. So some people have no conscience, and they know what they are doing is wrong. So, looking at it holistically, throughout Northern Division, rest assured that come January, you will be seeing an effect of this in how we deal with it. Now, in relation to abandoned properties, I'll ask Mr. Mohammed to address that issue from the corporation's perspective. Well,
good evening, everyone. With regards to the derelict vehicles on the roadway, there is a loophole in the law that allows the so-called culprits to escape. As a result of that, Ms. Sanka, who is in charge of the municipal police in Tunapuna, has forwarded a proposal to the council to deal with that loophole, so that come, as Mr. Rampal would have said, come early into the new year, that loophole will be closed, and all those derelict vehicles and wayside garages that are operated will be non-existent, so that the roadways will be free for the citizens to use.
Will that loophole be, law will affect not only Tunapuna but Trinidad and Tobago?
Throughout all 40 municipalities in Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you. Have all the questions been answered? Do you have any more? Anybody on the floor live? All right, let me just allow, sir, could you join the line as well? Go ahead, sir. Councillor. Sandy, Councillor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My name is Samuel Sanka, Councillor for Kelly Village, Warrenville, in the region of Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation. So while we have issues from the hills, they do affect the Caroni Plain. And DCP Jacob, you highlighted, patrols, and why I'll enjoy the green spaces in the Tunapuna Piarco region, stemming from Marcus, St. John Road, Mount St. Benedict, Cora, Lopino, St. Michael's Road station. You have a number of fitness enthusiasts who enjoy these green spaces. And as the Honorable MP Ford highlighted, the trails. And what you have is a number of females and males, and because of the COVID, you have a number of people using these trails for exercising purposes. It is a threat to these persons because of the elements that exist on the hill. And that affects the plain as well. And not limited to, you have a migration of people coming from on top to the lower area. Just want to, you're very familiar with the Kelly Village neighborhood and the activities that go on, and you would have had some exercises done recently and not so recent as well. The thing about it now is that we have locals, nationals, and you have a Latino challenge as well. So I'm just putting it on the table that we do appreciate the efforts you're doing, and DCP Jacob, you're very charismatic as well in your presentation, and we look forward to hosting you in that neighborhood soon.
This gentleman is a counselor. You should be a radio personality, sir. You have an excellent voice. You have an excellent voice. You have an excellent voice. Mr. Jacob, I'll take the opportunity now to just bring some clarity, because while the Tunapuna constituency represented by Mr. Ford, the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation goes into central Trinidad. And also it goes, you raised the concern earlier about Maracas St. Joseph, the council there, it goes up into St. Joseph as well. So when you, this, and of course we have listeners online throughout the region. So your voice, while, you know, the Tunapuna, the St. Joseph police and others may not be here presently, these issues are being heard throughout the length and breadth of the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation. Yeah?
Well,
Sir?
let me just respond to him.
Sure.
Right. Right. So your area is covering Central Division. Right. Right. And Central Division's borders Northern Division. And on several occasions in 2017, we had cause to even cross into Central to do particular work. What you have happening in Kelly Village is new gang activities. Persons are now developing. But I will tell you flat, they are in fact, the gun business. So we need to look at it carefully. The Central Division is looking at it. And then you need to look and see even, remember I told you all sometimes that you have, somebody asked about the number of gangs, but you have the low class gang and you have the high class gang. You'll have persons in the upper echelons in the society, and they are linked with it, which finances these persons who are involved in these enterprises, which is illegal. You need to look at it. You need to, in your area, you need to look at your, do you have a hotel chain there anyhow? But you need to look carefully at what is happening there and who harbors who. I'm indicating, so you understand where I'm coming from, right? So I'm dealing from St. Helena to Kelly to Frederick, in that area there. So you all have to organize all yourself, and I will talk to Mr. Simon, the senior superintendent there, to link with you so that he will organize and support you all, so that what is raising the ugly hair there will, it have tapered down a bit, but we have to be mindful, okay? And I think I'm talking in parables, but you will understand fully what I'm saying, right?
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Sir?
All right, hi, good night. All right. My name is Michael Campbell, chairman of the Tunapuna Youth Desk. And I guess this question would be for DCP Jacobs and well for all of us here as stakeholders in the community, residents. Men need men, and most of my peers are the tools being used to carry out the crimes within the community, and they also the victims of it. And we know the age brackets. And my question is, and my cry is, there are programs, yes, to captivate the young people, but in terms of how relatable is it? We are in the era of zest. And for people, we know what zest is about. There's a term that says, I guess, it's about drugs and violence, but if you understand the origin of it, it's about enjoying yourself. And if we want to really reach the young men, and I'm not being biased against the genders, but seeing that these are the ones that fallen by the wayside, how can we partner as a community to actually speak their language? Because no longer you would see a youth probably want to put the shirt on the pants like I did. I conform to that. But if you want to get them to go out there to do what we think is best for them, the traditional ways is fading. The principles of telling them, come and sit down and hear what they're speaking. They don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear that. And I'm saying that if we could partner in 2022 to literally get different artists to come and mentor these young men. Even, I'm glad to see on here table, there's men here. And as a child being a single parented by my mom, a man wasn't there. So there were times where the streets would have called my name, but I didn't respond because there were programs to me that could have gone there. I had like sports. I tried to keep in shape, and that was at my timing. But now the youth like to sing, like to DJ, like to party. How could we reach to them while they are enjoying themselves? And I'm hoping that all of us can probably take that question into consideration and come up with a plan to help us, because we're dying and we really need help. Thank you.
Yeah. And while I know the question was directed to DCP Jacob, I think that our representatives, local and our member of parliament, I hope you heard that and probably also see how best you can contribute to that and answer. But I give way to DCP Jacob.
Yes, that is such an easy question. I said it's such an easy question. And in order to deal with it, you know, within the community, we had to start to do parenting classes. Because a lot of our problems start from the home, right? Parenting classes. Someone will look at that as something fun. What about life skill training? What about anger management training? What about conflict resolution training? Like how the group of persons came recently and they are doing the open up the St. Joseph Youth Club, right? The old police station, and we are offering free conflict resolution for persons and mediation. All of that will help tremendously, because some of our problems stem from the socialization within the home and within the community. And that is why we reach the point with the secondary aspect that you are talking about. When the persons have crossed that border, how will we deal with them? Because the schools now have the problem to deal with these young people. I agree with the artists, because what we did in Laventille in 2015, we had something called Laventille Nights, sponsored by I-95.5. And we took prominent persons who came and did well in Laventille, and we went up in the hills. And we bring certain artists, and we had interaction with the young people. And a lot of work was done. While we were doing the hard policing, our hearts and minds and other corporate citizens like I-95 came together, and we tried to get on the young people. Did we stop the murders and the shootings in Laventille and places? We did not stop it, but we cut it in half. Meaning to say, remember I told you all before, that before Besson Street and Port of Spain used to have the highest incidence of murders, right? That was average of 110 or 120. Now we are having around 60, 65. That was the good work done in 2015 into 2016 there, with our linking with the communities, getting the non-government organizations and other persons involved. Hal Graves, I don't know if you remember Hal? Right. And all these persons who were doing work with us and trying to do work with the young people. And our Hearts and Mind program is a program that we will want to marry into Northern Division, where the police officers with the Hearts and Minds will come and use to replicate some of the good things that work. And we hope that I-95, Darian, we hope that I-95.5 and other radio stations, now you all have a youth radio station, could come on board for us to reach. I mean to say we have the challenge of COVID-19, but the same way we're doing this year, we can do it. So in order to answer you, there is in fact the solution. We saw it work, and I believe it can work in Northern Division also, if we can replicate it here. So, right? Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to add something to what the said. And let's look at acceptance. It takes a community to raise a child. When children leave home, the pants way below the bottom. It's in our music, our fashion, our language, the way we carry ourselves. Long ago, people would address the police officer, sergeant. Now is what? The boss. Oh, father. Right? Everybody could read it where I'm coming from. The average conversation between youths now. Dog, where's the scene? Check me, we go link up and ride a shot. We understand the transition from where we were to where we are now. And that transcends into how we think, our outlook as a young person, impressionable young man or woman growing up now. You would see young people walking down the road carefree, cutting lines, running to the front. Boy, I don't care about you, boy. Everyone here is familiar with what I'm talking about. But what do we do? Is it about acceptance? It's none of our business. Me again, interfere with nobody, me have no trouble with nobody. Next thing the young with me a big story in my head. This is where we're at. We keep harping the point. What are you doing to help make Trinidad and Tobago a better place? We all need to ask ourselves that question. Police officers as well. Would you see a young man walking down the street and asking, son, why is your trousers below your buttocks? Is that fashion? Are you trying to make a statement? Are you sending a message? And that's where we're at. Acceptance. So, we get so accustomed to it. You go for a job interview and you're so accustomed to talking like that. You walk in, you Mr. A, say, good morning, sir. My name is so-and-so. I'm here for... Yeah, father, morning. We've seen. Understand? If we continue to accept that, we are not going to move forward as a society. Police officers cannot do that alone. We cannot go into every school and counsel every single student. Point to note? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Guru Singh.
Good night again. Just a recommendation for situations that I've observed in the Tunapuna station. I know that years ago, the community police division would have existed in Tunapuna. That has since gone. Since I am there at the council, we haven't had community police. The community police is now stationed at St. Joseph. Now, the community police is a different type of policing. There are a lot of single mothers that might be having problems with children, and they take them to the station, and the community police would have sit down, talk to them, to avoid situations like what the gentleman before, to create problems. And I think and would recommend that the community police come back to Tunapuna, because it is not always convenient for people within the area to go to St. Joseph. As it is COVID, people don't have money, people single parents, they're broken. You have a lot of domestic situations now, especially with people being home, husband and wife, and they go to the Tunapuna station and they take up the time of the officers like Sergeant Steele and Sergeant Mason, where they should be dealing with more crime situations, and they have to sit down and maybe deal with a domestic dispute. And I just recommend that community police, that division or that department, I don't know how you face it, should come back. There should be an office or some sort of situation in Tunapuna station to deal with community police. We don't have it. I know it used to exist years ago, but it's not anymore. And I know of an instance up to this week with a husband and wife situation, and they had to go to St. Joseph to get it resolved. They had a vehicle and they could have gone, but it's not always convenient. It's not, So it's something I recommend to come back to Tunapuna.
Thank you. Sir?
Good evening, all. My name is Terence Caesar. I'm the principal of Tunapuna Boys RC School, and I'm also a scout leader of a 4th Tunapuna Scout Group here in Tunapuna. I don't have a question. I do have some comments. And I will preface my comments by sharing that I was fortunate to be part of a mentorship program with Father Harvey in 2007, 2008, working with some young men from Laventille, 10, 11-year-olds. And coming out of that, out of the, I think it would have been about 30 young men that we interacted with, carried them and camped down Shagaramas in the army base there, and basically camped to them for about 12 days, teaching them different skills and taking them out of the home. Yes, we did have persons who came through that and still went into crime. But out of that, we have persons who were telling you that they were part of Fresh Gang at the time and found themselves getting scholarships to go abroad and study because they recognized that there was an alternative, that they didn't have to follow that path. We got persons who found themselves becoming captain of Amoka Renegades, playing with the band because they recognized, you know what? We didn't have to go down this path that they thought was destined for them. So my comment is this, and with all due respect to my young colleague there who came up and spoke earlier, I actually believe that a lot of our young people want to do what is right. They want to wear the shirt and the pants. They want to speak properly and interact. They want to do that. The challenge is that that's not what's happening around them. And none of us ever want to be the cheese standing alone, or at least most of us don't ever want to be that. We want to fit in. We are social beings. So we want to be accepted. So when they recognize, look, everybody else around me, this is what they're doing. We can sit and talk about how they should be strong and they should have their own mind and be able to stand out. That's much easier said than done. And I'm saying all of that because I'm challenging us, the Greater Chamber, Tunapuna Chamber, the Tunapuna Police Community, the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation, us, the citizens, the police officers. Let us focus on the youth. And I'm not talking about the 13, 15, and 16-year-olds. With all due respect, if it is we wait until then we might really, it's really hard because a lot of them don't fix their mind, they know what they're going to do, you can't tell them nothing. But I'm talking about we have to go a little younger and get them to understand that there are alternatives. The thing about it is that when it is we did that program in Laventille, in 2006 we tried it, and we got no response. Because when we went to get assistance from persons, who are you? Oh, please, no. Laventille, me, we're going to get money to people in Laventille to encourage them to bring guns. When Father Harvey went, oh, well, no problem, Father Harvey, of course, he will do. And he was able to get. I'm saying that because we have business persons here from Tunapuna. We have different NGOs, different people in Tunapuna who are trying to do good, who are trying to contribute in a positive way. But we understand everything takes money. Everything, it's difficult to do all that they want to do if there's no assistance. And while I am not trying to advocate that the business chamber who suffering economically, especially now in COVID, give away all their money to everybody that will come through the door. That is madness. I understand that's not possible. But I'm just saying that if it is, we have a more open mind and understand, you know what? Let us see what we can do to help the youth. For instance, the officers and them, when they are driving the same emergency response team, not when they're hustling on a crime scene, but probably when when that's not happening and they can pause, put the glass down and just talk to a young man or a young girl while they're walking. Where you going? Where you from? What school or class here? You know, and it's not because, well, I feel your face looking familiar and I think your uncle was on the thing. Oh, sorry. Yes, my apologies. So I'm just trying for us to understand about trying to prevent, and so that way the future will be a bit different. Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, before we have two other persons. It is 8:17, and we have to wrap up by 8:30. We don't want to go on and on and on, right? So we want to keep it as tight as possible in the next few minutes. Let me first recognize, ma'am, Mr. Carmichael, right? And we are also going to get a response in terms of the vacant lot, the abandoned buildings from Vice Chairman, Mr. Williams. And we must entertain the Member of Parliament, and we'll take one more question from you because we have to wrap up.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and to all the online audience as well, to the Commissioner on the head table. I bring greetings from two institutions, one being Crime Stoppers, all right, and no meeting is really complete unless we understand that the public has the ability, if they want to anonymously, to call Crime Stoppers. 800 tips, that is 800-8477. Our motto is we do not need to know who you are, we just need the information. In spite of the excellent relationship that a lot of the communities have had, particularly I know to the Tunapuna Police Station Community Council, there are numerous neighborhood watch groups existing into the St. Augustine, into the Currap areas, and of course other areas. There are numerous neighborhood watch groups formed. And in spite of that relationship, we still feel that there's a need when persons have information that they really don't want to be known, they really don't want to be their identity given, then you always have that opportunity to call in the information anyways. If you see something, say something, and use the program. I'm in the presence of a lot of councillors, and I'm jealous. I don't know if the Minister of Rural Development and Local Government could probably make me a extraordinary councillor or something, because I represent all 14 municipalities. Their neighborhood watch groups span the length and breadth, and I encourage those persons who are present and listening, if you need to set up a watch group, contact me at 312-2281, that's the number, 312-2281, although I know that the police do an excellent job in sharing the number as well, and persons call me because the police sort of told them to do so as well. So the information is out there, and I want to encourage you to let's set up these groups, let's work hand in hand with the police, because we have the information, we have the intelligence, right? We, the citizens in every nook and cranny, we provide the ground intelligence that the police need to act, okay? And without our support, they don't have all the ammunition that is required. I know it was mentioned by the chairman of the station council that persons change all the time, but I can speak from experience, particularly with Senior Superintendent Ramphal, ASP Coggins, and some of the other persons I see around and so on. You have inherited persons who are inculcated, if that's a good word, into the traditions of community-oriented policing. They are very familiar with neighborhood watch groups, they are very familiar with working with communities and so on. So if anything, I feel the areas that they came from have been cheated because they're here in Tunapuna now. So I just want to give them a round of applause because I know of their work, I know of their value, and I submit that you have lost nothing in terms of strong, solid individuals to keep the momentum going. I want to thank the police and particularly for showing up. It's excellent to see this initiative. I want to be able to be present in more of these. And we hope that this tradition continues. To the councillor, excellent initiative, and all the persons who participate. Okay, so I'll give leave now so other persons can wrap up. Thank you.
I'd like to invite Vice Chairman Travis to respond to the issue of abandoned buildings and so on.
Right. Good evening again, everyone. On the issue of the abandoned buildings, I also happen to be the chairman of the building committee in the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation. We are currently looking at a number of the vacant spaces throughout the TPRC, and we do intend as a council to do some cleanup efforts on some of these vacant spaces very soon. We are going to have to utilize the Yellow Fever Act in some cases and work very closely with the CMOH, County Medical Officer of Health, to be able to execute this project. Very soon we would be renting a few pieces of equipment to assist us where we have a shortfall, and we will treat with some of those. The issue of the houses that are going up in the community, let me say also as the chairman of the building committee in the TPRC, where we have persons building illegal structures in the hills, DCP, members of the Northern Division, I want to give the commitment on behalf of the TPRC right now that we are going to communicate as soon as tomorrow with the LSA, get the satellite footage from the hills, find out those structures that would have gone up without the requisite permissions from the regional corporation and town and country. And we are going to need the support of the police, of course. We're going to ask the police to go in there. We are going to see how best we can provide the rent or get the equipment to provide to the police to have those structures broken. We will do that in very short order, and my colleagues here, Councillor Austin and Sanka, I'm sure we'll have the commitment and support from them, Councillor Legay somewhere also in the midst. And on the issue of the derelict vehicles, as you indicated, ASP would have brought the relevant information to council, and it is something that we are also actively looking at. We are pursuing the sections in the Municipal Act to treat with those matters currently. I think Councillor Austin also has one question before we leave. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Councillor Austin here, Councillor for Makoya Trinity. I fall between the Tunapuna police station and the Aruka police station, so I'm kind of aware of some of the challenges they may both have together. Most recently, the Orange Grove community came together and assisted with respect to facilities and fixing of doors and AC units and so forth at the Aruka police station. And we are committed to doing so, and I see likewise the Tunapuna Chamber of Commerce are doing so in the Tunapuna area. With that being said, beyond that, we realize some issues where human resource is concerned. The shortage of manpower in these stations and surrounding stations, and also where in some of these stations you find more crime, the elevation of crime, and the officers that are coming in on the senior levels, more specifically the administrative operation, sometimes you find you don't get that good mesh where the operation is concerned. You may find, just as in politics, in all spheres, you may find some are better in operation, some are better in administrative duties. But I want to ask here tonight if we can pay more attention to the operation and administrative arm, and where they may be combined in these areas to get the officers that are spearheading these stations to have that, that cohesion and be able to do what is expected. Just that and the manpower, human resource in these stations, I realize there's a shortage. Just those two things. Before you answer, I'll give you an opportunity to respond to all that you may need to respond to as we wrap up. Minister Member Ford, and then the two questions from Ms. Senhouse coming out of.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A quick one. With regards to a comment made earlier by my colleague from Golden View, and also DCP Jacob. Now there is the community police, and remember that we also had the community comfort patrols. You know the guys that used to be the sort of maroon, is maroon? What's the color they used to go around with, I think? A burgundy sort of jersey. Now remember that was disbanded, right? Now what's supposed to take place with the new legislation with regards to the local government reform is that through the municipal policing, all the 14 municipalities supposed to be strengthened with the necessary human resource officers in order to know it has already started, but it has not been rolled out in a full expanse yet because there are a lot of parameters to put in place. Office space, buildings, motor vehicles, uniforms and things like that. But some municipalities have been strengthened in order to assist and to take the slack where the comfort patrol was not done, where the municipal police supposed to be going into the communities, circulating and assisting. And lastly, as I'm on the floor, between Page Main Road and Orzenville Road on the eastern main road is a no parking zone. Right? I think more necessary the Senior Superintendent Ramphal. It's a no parking zone. Now that we are in December, it is becoming a serious nuisance with parking on the Eastern Main Road. Most of those individuals, those businesses, again, it's an advantage in one sense and it's a disadvantage in one sense, where they have no parking facilities and they utilize the Eastern Main Road. Now in Tunapuna, we have a serious parking issue. We have no parking spots to go to the market, to go to Pennywise, to go wherever you need to go to the banks. Right? However, we have some small car parks that recently would have developed. So I think if it is that we can get a little policing with regards to those vehicles on the Eastern Main Road during the month of December, so that at least they can be utilized to go to the car parks that have now mushroomed within the particular area. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Sunhouse, we will take you as the final questions to wrap up.
Thank you. We have a question from Karen King. Can any of the elected representatives or TTPS say if there are any gang prevention or reduction programs implemented right now in the Northern Division?
Just come again.
Are there any gang prevention or reduction programs implemented right now in the Northern Division?
Go ahead.
The other question from Simon Graham, is it possible to reform the gangs and make them honest, productive members of our society?
All right. We can only go with those two, ma'am, for now. All right? Thank you very much. The head table, if you could now respond.
All right. Going fast and furious. I just want to deal with the principal who came up. And I'm happy that you can come and you speak from your experience. And what you all are doing, what you were doing is policing in the context of getting these young people on the right road. And that's why we encourage other persons to do it. When we spend time and encourage persons as police officers, they say we want to do, we are soft. But what you all are doing is dealing with the root causes. And the whole aspect of the question, the last question I was asked in relation to gangs and what is being done. The same thing that you all provided. You provided a measure of attachment, involvement, belief. Basically, it's a crime control aspect where you're causing bonding to take place, but in a positive way. It's the same thing the gang leaders do on the other side. They provide these same items to the young men, but in a negative way. So the answer to dealing with gangs is by having programs within your community and getting the young people involved, so that involvement, belief, and attachment will be there to something positive. The question is whether or not we are dealing with young initiatives in the division. In Northern Division, we have police youth clubs in St. Joseph, in Maloney. I can remember opening one in Greenville, in La Hoqueta, we started one in Pinto. I can call several aspects of the work that we are trying to do to reach young people with the support of a lot of the communities and sometimes some of the officers who are now retired, who will come and do work with these young people. All those things are anti-gang initiatives that when we're talking about it, and there are several other things that, in fact, can be done. So dealing with the gangs, we need to look at that carefully. The question of dealing with community policing. We always have argument against specialization versus generalization. Community policing is really supposed to be a philosophy, a policing philosophy. The way how the police carry out their work. Meaning to say, the philosophy should be that all police officers are supposed to be community police officers. But you will have a few police officers who are specially trained, so when you reach a certain point, they will take over and then link with the other government agencies that may need to give support. And also like how we have the victim support officers and other persons working with us. But we want the patrol officer and the beat to be a community police officer. We want the patrol officer or to be a community police officer. So we are fixed between those, a hard place, in the sense of when we say we have a community policing section, as soon as an incident happens and you come to the station, the police officer, instead of the deal with the senior, and they can handle it. So that is the problem that we are having. However, the SDOIC, Mr. Ramphal, the senior SUP, will talk with the SDOIC Tunapuna to see what can be put in place to ensure that when persons come and make reports concerning community issues, we can handle it in a more effective manner, right? But the point is that all police officers are supposed to be community police officers in how you deal with and handle things within your community. And we have the other persons who are specialized in that area. As it relates to the aspect of the councillor spoke about working with the regional corporation and the land settlement agency to deal with the unorganized developments that are taking place. We have a multi-agency task force established in the police service within the last 2 years that work directly with the land settlement agency. But fortunately for you all, that multi-agency task force started off in the St. Joseph area when we were dealing with illegal businesses and businesses that was operating outside of what is required, and we had formed that multi-agency task force. And it expanded in such a way, working with several different agencies from forestry. We have that agency. So I will tell the senior SUP in relation to the work that's being done. ASP Haynes and team, they work under the Criminal Investigation Department in Port of Spain, but they link with the various divisions to deal with illegal quarrying and all the other environmental activities that we are having, so that agency can work with another division to help with this situation, right? And, well, basically, that is all I can remember right now in relation to what I wrote in responding to most of the queries. We want to ensure that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and all the officers, in spite of our challenges from COVID-19 to other things, we are here for you all. We will want to develop some robust policing with your support, from linking with the CCTV. So I will ask the senior SUP to link with the persons who are responsible, so we can link with our IT department, so that we can get the feed. The municipal police, they already committed themselves to give us some personnel to work in the operational center, and we are committed to add additional screens within that operational center and look to expand if necessary, so that we can manage the area effectively. We will ensure to increase the number of patrols that will be within the area. As I said, the Defense Force is working hand in hand with us. We had about 2 main tactical meetings with the Defense Force dealing with Tunapuna, especially after the incident that one of the councillors referred to. And we made certain plans in the manner in how we will be dealing with things. In one of those meetings, the minister was so concerned. He was a part of that. The Minister of National Security was part of that meeting. And it's obvious we will tell you all what our tactical plans, but as I said, we decide to take over the hills. The hills belong to us. And the trails belong to you all. So when persons want to exercise, they can go and exercise freely. And we must be robust with it. But the same way, as we told you all that we intend to do the hard policing, the same way that you all can be in the middle do the situational crime prevention. Mr. Carmichael talked about you all coming together, forming the neighborhood watch groups, working it together, right, having the CCTV, a lot of things that you all can do, and you all can also play the part in reaching the young people, because we know that this crime is a social construct, and it starts from deviant behavior that develop and transcend into criminal activities. So I attended the funeral yesterday, right? And I remember this. I attended the funeral yesterday of the prison officer who was killed. And you know, and I look at the strength of the 4-year-old girl who came and did a little rendition of a dance right next to her father, coffin there. But the pastor who preached made that significant point of the part that we can play. And she talked about her experience doing work in the prisons. And most of the prisoners she met, most of them did not know who was in fact their father. And she talked about these fatherless children who she met within the prisons. So I like to talk to the men. I like to talk to the men. You have a responsibility, live up to responsibility. We have to change our way of life. And she's saying that that is what she identified, that the majority of the prisoners that she met there did not know who was the father. And they operated a certain amount of hate to society as a result of their experiences. So to the men, whether you're virtually or otherwise, live up to your responsibility, help in the socialization of your children. We are creating significant problems in our society. We, the police, here to support you all with whatever programs that we all wish to introduce. We will operate as the platform and the springboard as we go forward to deal with the crime in Tunapuna and St. Joseph area and make it much safer than it is for the rest of this year into 2022. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, DCP Jacob, and let me take the opportunity to commit I-95 to working with you to reignite a similar program as Lab Until Nights. It was an initiative of the Afternoon Drive, not only in Tunapuna and with the Tunapuna Corporation and the Chamber, but certainly wherever in Trinidad you feel a need to do that, we'd be happy to work with you in that regard. And additionally, I want to commit tonight as well the organization established by Mr. Wayne Chance, Vision and Mission, as a member of the board. We are not only into the rehabilitation of ex-convicts, but we have taken a different approach now, an additional approach in the preventative side of it. And therefore, we have programs that we are going to roll out in 2022. And we will be happy to have an audience with you to offer our services and to work with the police service in terms of the prevention of crime and some of the interventions that you have identified. Yeah, so we'll be calling on you shortly. Having said that, let me call on Dr. Malinats. You've been asked to make a presentation to Mr. Jacob on behalf of the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation, the Greater Tunapuna Chamber of Industry and Commerce, and the Tunapuna Police Station Community Council. Mr. Jacob.
Wow.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ads. And two final matters on the agenda. Let me call the Vice Chairman of the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation, Mr. Travis Williams, Councillor Travis Williams, to do the vote of thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of today's proceedings, but let me say that this is not the end. The concerns raised, the questions raised this afternoon, those that we have online, we would have had an Excel sheet with those questions that would have been posed. We would have taken note of them, and when we leave here, the discussions will continue between the chamber, the council, and we hope to have other members from the community, Dr. Atz, the principal of our boys' school, RC School, the principal of our girls' school who was here. We would hope to have more meaningful discussion and, along with the police, and we would be able to work on solutions for the issues that the Burgesses are experiencing at this time as it relates to crime. So let me also thank Brother Franklin Tuitt, who would have, of course, showered us with the blessings through Almighty God from above. I want to thank my colleague, Councillor Selvon, who would have opened us earlier, my other colleagues from Council, Councillor Sanka, who is here, Councillor from Macoya Trinity, Councillor Austin, who would have supported us, the Chairman of Council, Alderman Kwesi Robinson, and of course, Councillor, the Chairman for Disaster and Safety, Councillor Derek Laguerre. I want to thank you all for your support, and to my other colleagues from Council. Let me greatly thank the Tunapuna Chamber, Melissa Senhouse, the President of the Greater Tunapuna Chamber of Industry and Commerce, and that committee for partnering with us on this initiative. I want to thank you all for all your support on this initiative. The Tunapuna Police Station Community Council, Mr. Neil Budo Singh, aka Fred, and the council, all the members who are present here. Ladies and gentlemen, what we are doing here, this will not be the end of this. We have a lot more discussions to be had, and I want to really thank from the bottom of my heart on behalf of the people of Ozanville, Tunapuna, and I'm sure I could speak on behalf of the rest of the region of Tunapuna, Piarco. I want to thank sincerely DCP Jacob, you know, DCP Jacob, as he said, you know, I called him almost every week, and he committed, and I sent him just to give him reminders, and he gave me the assurance he would be here. DCP, to the officers of the head table from the Northern Division who have been working exceedingly hard. I want to thank you all for taking time from your schedule to be here with us this afternoon. We have some light refreshments for you after, so don't run off too quickly. I want to thank you all on behalf of the people of Tunapuna, on behalf of the people of the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation. All the persons who would have taken part in this evening's proceedings via Zoom, those of us who are gathered here this evening, I want to say a sincere thanks to you, because this evening would not have been possible without your support, your questions, and your participation. Thank you to you. The Honorable Member of Parliament for Tunapuna, Mr. Esmond Ford, I want to thank you for your support this evening and for the questions that you would have posed and the continued support in these efforts in the community. Thank you, Mr. Ford. And let me also thank Advanced Dynamics, the persons who you see standing here, of course, doing the recordings for us. Thank you very kindly for taking time to be with us this evening. Let me say, ladies and gentlemen, I started this without a budget, $0. And I have to thank Teresa, who did the backdrop. I have to thank Melissa Senhouse and the chamber for all of the other things you're seeing here. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to thank Miss Ann from the community center. I had $0 for this particular initiative. And ladies and gentlemen, what you see before you here, we had no money, and it was made possible because of all of these persons who came together for this initiative for the community. So thank you all very much. We have ASP Sanka of the TPRC Municipal Police. Thank you, ma'am, for being here with us this evening, for always being with us in the TPRC, and for always having to deal with us sometimes even in council. Thank you very much, ma'am. And of course, Senior Sup Mohammed of the Municipal Police also, North. I want to thank you for taking time to be here with us also. Let me finally thank Mr. Darian Marcel, who would have, when I asked him to, of course, chair today's proceedings, he said, most certainly, without hesitation, Mr. Marcel, you are a friend. You are a friend of the community of Tunapuna and Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, he will come after me, but the Right Reverend Desmond Austin, who is in front of us, who will end with the prayer, I want to thank you in advance for all your prayerful support and for the work that you have been doing in the community also. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot leave this podium without saying thank you to Almighty God, because we know the times that we are living in currently, and God has spared us to see another day. We are here, and we thank God for that. Sincerely, from the depths of our heart, we thank Almighty God for the opportunity to share as brethren and sistren, and to be able to dialogue in the interests of our community. Dr. Atz, we have some more discussions that we have to have with respect to the community after, and as I told you before, this is not the end. We are taking these questions and concerns very seriously, and we will be meeting more regularly as a team through the police council, etc., to execute some of these things in the interest of the community. So thank you, one and all. If I forgot anyone, please forgive me. Thank you very much. The facility manager for here, thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. God bless.
With no further delay, may I invite Reverend Desmond Austin, as we open with prayer, to do the right thing and close with it. Can I ask you to stand, please?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone else. Yeah, I want to, before we pray, we complain, we hear all the complaints, but we don't get enough of the compliments. I want to compliment you, Mr. Jacobs, and your team for an excellent job. I want us to put our hands together for them, please. Is that okay? That's a good job. And the face of the whole police service is changing. You bring to us a spirit and an attitude of change, and I welcome that. I had a meeting with Senior Superintendent Kurt Simon last week, and the Central Police, they're doing some excellent work there with the churches, and so we have started something here many years ago, and I see the continuation. Thank you so much. Let's pray. Our Father and God, we thank you because today we recognize your presence, first of all, and what we recognize here today is attributed to your Holy Spirit working in our lives. There's no change without you, Lord. We recognize that the heart of the human problem is the problem of the human heart. So we recognize crime is a spiritual problem. And without your intervention, we can do absolutely nothing. We ask again and again that the Holy Spirit will continue to guide us, download into our spirit your God-given ideas like we have had tonight through our representative, Mr. Travis Williams, and so many others. Download into our spirits your God-given ideas and the wisdom to execute these ideas. We recognize also, as we have heard tonight repeatedly, that crime is a societal problem, and all of us must do our part. We thank you for bringing us together, giving us the wisdom again to strategize, to synergize, and to do whatever is necessary to make a dent in this crime that is grieving the hearts of so many people, mothers and fathers, siblings, sons and daughters that are pained, but we have a sense of security tonight. Even so, we ask that you will help all aspects of civil society, the government, the church, the school, God, culture, arts, entertainment, whatever sphere we represent, to understand that we can do our part in situational policing as we've heard tonight. God, we pray that we'll understand that crime is not only a spiritual problem, not only a societal problem, but a social problem. It's about relationships. Help us to recognize that life is all about relationships and everything else is just details. Bring the hearts of the fathers to the sons, the hearts of the sons to their fathers, lest this earth be destroyed by a curse. I ask God that you will raise up fathers, even mentors, coaches, and others who will stand in the gap, Father, where there is anger, made up of fear, hurts, and frustration, that this nation will see peace like never before, even as we celebrate this Christmas season, a season of peace and of men of goodwill. Bless this effort today that has been made. We recognize above all, as we pray in closing, that crime is also a security problem. We ask that you will bless our DC, our God of police, and all those that work with him, the various branches. Those in Tunapuna, we ask your blessings. We recognize the gang warfare, but we must do our part as they do their part. So we ask your protection, your angels round about them. We ask for their families and their loved ones as they go out to do their part, my God, that they be protected. Now, God, we pray as I close that you will bless us, everyone, and keep us. You will be gracious to us. Cause your face to shine towards upon us, Lord. Lift up your countenance upon each and every one and give to us your peace. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. God bless you. Thank you.
Let me just thank all of you who on the World Wide Web who joined us on the stream. We thank you. We have now ended. Thanks all of you who are here. Have a good night. Get home safely. Mr. Jacob, and to the audience, there's one other thing. There's one appeal I want to make, please. Not only crime is killing people, right? COVID-19 is too. So if you're listening, get vaccinated and observe the 3 W's. Watch your distance, wear your mask, wash your hand, and sanitize. Have a good one and be safe.